Hello and welcome all to our webinar number 8 of the India-EU ICT Standards Collaboration Project. Today we have a very exciting topic, a very hot topic, which is, a link between the IoT and the smart city world. And we have some experts here which are really, on the cutting edge of the topic, which is about the security of IoT. And I can assure you that this is the hottest topic in my knowledge as we know today. So today we have, three people with us. We have Mr. Vijay Madan to moderate the session, and he's a advisor to TSDSI, which is the Indian Telecom Standards SDO. And Mr. Madan comes with a long experience of 48 years, and he has been linked with telecom and IT sector in leadership positions with very renowned organizations like CDOT and Tata. And he has been part of many working groups and bodies leading them. I think it is important to highlight his interest in security, because all his life and all his leadership roles, he has been looking at security. So we hope that Mr. Madan will really grill today François and Jill. So coming over to our key resources for today. So we have François Ennesser, who is from the oneM2M security working group. And François has more than 20 years of experience in embedded systems and security industry. He has been working on machine-to-machine communication for nearly 10 years. So he represents Zimalto in M2M standardization, and he has been an active contributor in several organizations working on M2M and IoT security, including GlobalPlatform and GSMA. He is chairing the security working group of the oneM2M Global Standardization Partnership, striving to anticipate the technical evolutions affecting trust, security, and privacy, along with the migration from business-centric M2M use cases to consumer-driven IoT applications. He also participated in several regulatory expert groups and mandate work initiated by the European Commission on the topics of smart metering and smart grids. We also have another very learned expert on this topic, Mr. Jill Bernabeu, who is Technical Director of GlobalPlatform. He has been elected as GlobalPlatform's Technical Director in 2005. His main role is to drive forward the development of GlobalPlatform specifications to deploy secure services. Mr. Bernabeu also acts as GlobalPlatform's central technical liaison point, coordinating the efforts of the organization's technical committees and the GlobalPlatform task forces with external partners. In his role as certification secretariat within GlobalPlatform, he ensures that all elements of GlobalPlatform-based solutions are interoperable and offer backwards compatibility with previous technology releases. Prior to becoming GlobalPlatform Technical Director, Jill served GlobalPlatform as the chair of the Systems Committee for over 2 years. So a very warm welcome to all three of you, Mr. Madan, François, Jill. And before I hand over to Mr. Madan to introduce today's topic and ask you tough questions for the topic today, I just want to make a housekeeping announcement to our participants, which have come from all over the world, that the structure of this webinar would be that after we have this presentation from our experts, we will have a Q&A, which will have questions that can come from any one of you. So there is a questions tab in this software where you can already type in your question, and we will be assigning these questions to our experts, and they will be answering your questions once they have made their presentation. Also, this webinar would be recorded and will be available to you for later viewing. So over to you, Mr. Madan. A warm welcome to you for this webinar, and if you can introduce the topic and set the context for today.
Thank you, Mr. Sachin, and welcome all from all the globe, and on this very important subject of role of oneM2M and GlobalPlatform for smart city applications of IoT. I am Vijay Madan, and housekeeping roles have been already defined by Sachin. Welcome the distinguished panelists. We'll hear from you, your experience and your technical expertise in this. The basic agenda for today's webinar has been divided to 3 parts: smart city security challenges, overview of oneM2M and global platform, insight into stakeholders' benefits using oneM2M and global platform. We had a chat before this webinar, and we thought that for the benefit of all the audience today, they'll be speaking on 5 or 6 key subjects, including smart city, where everything is connected from home to office to street and all utilities. And now, actually, the security subject has been brought because security has to take care of not only data protection, but also privacy and safety. Then we are talking about smart life or smart city, quality of life, and secure and safe life. Key requirements of smart city, of course, they will vary from place to place, country to country, and use cases to use cases. There's no one definition of smart city, but we'd like to hear what our experts tell us about that, and IoT platform connected to that. End-to-end security with trusted third party, because trust environment is the latest addition to security. All stakeholders can manage their own security and confidentiality through a single trusted infrastructure, which they'll be talking about. Then we expect that they will tell us something about unifying security approach for infrastructure and field domains, oneM2M value proposition to developers for this complete platform and what oneM2M offers, the standard for secure digital services and devices, global platform technology providing a strong value for IoT device OEMs, manufacturers, users, and all. We also proposed today to discuss is a role of oneM2M and global platform to secure smart cities through a comprehensive security approach, from security provider to things and all connected things. Smart cities perhaps get best of both through oneM2M and global platform, where our distinguished speakers come from. Without taking more time, and we'll be asking some tough questions, some interesting questions to the panelists. I hand over to the panelists, please.
So welcome, François. I believe you would be starting with Jill. So over to you. Welcome once again.
Thank you for this introduction, and thank you for the invitation. So I'm Gilles Bernabeu. I'm a Global Platform Technical Director, and I will start this presentation by a little overview of the smart city. So Mr. Madan already introduced the topic, and I think it's a good example of what IoT will be tomorrow. And if you take such city, the specificities of the smart city is that everything is connected, of course. This is provided by internet, but the main difference is that you are talking to very various domains into the city, from the traffic lights for managing the traffic jam conjunction, to home building, to health. Everything is connected, and the difficulty is that each and every domain or each and every industry may have a different approach in terms of managing the protocol extra, because of course when you are in a road you will use the 4G, but when you are inside your home maybe you will use the Bluetooth as an example. So the complexity comes from managing different domains, managing different applications, managing different partners. This is where you need to have a global infrastructure, and in order to be able to manage such big project. And something also is new in the vision that we have and we share with the industry on IoT. Maybe a few years ago or a few months ago we were talking about the smart world, but there were more and more connected objects that were generating data, and more or less all the data were bring to a central point, for management. The security was to protect the information during the transport. But when you are looking today the smart city, so it's not just generating data that are very important, but they are generating a lot of data, and a lot of data that may affect the privacy of the end user. Typically, on the previous slides, we were talking about pulse. When you have the heartbeat, when you have very detailed information about the personnel, this is very privacy information. So first of all, a lot of data, a lot of private data, and also the possibility to make some treatments on the edge, because there is so many data that you want, as an example, not to send the road measurement, but to send alert from an actuator to the central. So you have a treatment on the edge, and so you have a lot of data that are managed into the edge. And this also requires security inside the edge, because if at the end of the day your platform reacts on a specific value, and this value has been modified by someone, this may generate some issues. We are a lot of time taking the example of the traffic lights. If you want to make a big impact, you go to the traffic light and you switch the traffic light from red to green, and you may create accidents. So the local treatment is very important. And of course, this bring also some impact, because there is more and more actuator. So it's not a system that is creating data and sending the data back. It's something that is able to modify or to change our environment. And typically here you can use the example of the elevator. An elevator, it's able to open the door, close the door, and if you are taking control, then you have an impact on the life of the end user. So all take together, you need to have more privacy and more security on the data that are generating in this IoT world. So François, I'll let you continue.
Okay, so to go a little more deeper on the topic, I will start with this example which illustrates the daily life of a citizen from the time he gets up in the morning, using possibly some smart home service, then he gets to work using either public transport or his car. He may do some shopping on the way. He arrives in office using a different set of service, like secure access to the building and so on. Then you may have some interactions also with the healthcare systems. So what you see from this kind of example is that if you do not take care, it will become possible to track every moment in the life of an individual. So there is definitely a need to protect privacy in such applications, and also, of course, you are exposing some sensitive service, as illustrated by Gilles with the example previously. So if we now try to analyze what we need to take care of in smart city deployment, well, as said before, you need to combine in general a multitude of applications that come from different domains. And generally it means that they use different data models, because each device basically uses its own set of standards or specifications, and they are not specified still today to be able to talk to device from other family, other applications. So that's where horizontal communication platforms that provide unified programming interface to access the service becomes of importance, and that's what is provided by oneM2M. oneM2M also has the capability to provide interworking with already deployed applications, which is also important when you have a legacy of service that you want to integrate in your new smart city service. Then well, again, there is to really make a smart city successful, you need to have an open way for developers to be innovative and create new applications based on the data gathered and new service that may be offered to the citizens. And that means that, again, a unified application programming interface that is easy to access for the developers without requiring them to be aware of all the communication technology, all the security specificity that are involved in the lower layers has to be provided again. So that's also one of the features that oneM2M can provide. And then you have, of course, again, the security and also the secure management of the device on the field, which is a very important topic. And here, one aspect is that you generally have a multitude of stakeholders involved, and you want to have, in general, a unified way to maintain the security and the authentication of the device, and at the same time, so since you have many stakeholders, they do not generally trust each other. You may need to have a specific stakeholder, which is a trusted service provider, to act in the middle to provide security infrastructure that can be shared by the other actors to reduce the cost of this management and security infrastructure. And then it's important to dissociate the roles related to just manipulating and disseminating the information to provide the service, and the roles that are purely related to securing the system and ensuring the trust between the stakeholders. So I think we can go, yes, to the next slide. So one aspect when you have multiple stakeholders is that if you involve a trusted party, you get this ability to delegate all the trust-based roles to third party, and gives the capability to share the security infrastructure between multiple applications that may be of small size and may not have the means to build their own infrastructure, their own security and management infrastructure. Basically, it means that you go from a model where you had to to let the security be managed individually by each application, to a model where you can basically share infrastructure, and in particular the capability to deploy the credentials, and then during operations the capability to take care of the software updates and so on in a secure manner. So now another aspect again is that you generally have to deal with multiple network technology, because in smart city you generally use for example cellular service. You may use also fixed line, because some application will be based on fixed equipment. Some application have to deal with mobile equipment such as cars or mobile phones, and then you have to take care of the last miles connectivity, like with a smart meter, which is in the basement of the building, not connected easily through a wider network. You generally need to have a local area network at the edge side. It means that well, you have to take care also not to overload the security too much by using different means to secure each hop. From example, from the edge device to the gateway, you may use some first encryption mode, and then you may use a different encryption from the gateway to the service provider. Well, that's also why you need basically a standard that is able to integrate the end-to-end communication and take care of the security from the south to the edge, even if you have some gateways in between. Okay, so now let's give you a quick overview of oneM2M. So for those who are not yet familiar with this organization, oneM2M is actually a partnership very similar to 3GPP in terms of partners. So TSDSI in India is a founding partner of oneM2M, as well as the sister telecom standards organization across the world, ATIS and TIA in North America, it's in Europe, CCSA in China, TTA in Korea, and ERIB and TTC in Japan. And oneM2M also works in close cooperation with industrial organizations and other standards organizations in other domains, such as CEN and CENELEC, which are the European level of ISO and IEC, respectively. The Broadband Forum, which is dealing with management technology for fixed line. The Open Mobile Alliance, which provides technology for management of device in mobile networks. And you have also GlobalPlatform, which is working on the security side, and Jill will give you a presentation on that later. So basically, the values that oneM2M is providing to developers, and which is especially important in a smart city application, is to provide a unified API that enables the developer to make abstraction of the complexity involved in the lower layers. So on the right-hand side of this picture, you can see the multitude of protocols that can be involved in an IoT deployment, especially in smart city, at different layers, from the, let's say, physical connectivity link to the protocol links. You may use TLS or DTLS, depending whether you are on TCP or UDP. Then you use schemes like XML or JSON or CBOR and so on, and then you have still other layers for management and ontology or semantics layer to make the information interwork between different domains. And this figure does not too much show that the issue also appears on the security side, but it's actually the case that at the physical layer, depending on the sensitivity of your device, you may have to provide tamper resistance to a device that is exposed in the street, or you may need to take care mainly of resistance to remote attacks from the internet. So you have to use different hardware features, different technology also on the security side, and it's valuable to have also abstraction of this complexity in the API exposed to the developers. So yes, the next slide is presenting basically the security specifications provided by oneM2M. And one aspect you have to take care of is that generally you may not have a relationship between the manufacturers of the device and the person who will, well, the entity who will use the device to provide services. So you need to have this possibility to have an enrollment phase when a device is acquired, to enroll the device with a service provider. Then you also have to have this capability to provision credentials that are trusted by the service provider in the device remotely. Then during operation, you have also several aspects to take care of. The first one being to authenticate the device, making sure it's trusted to provide the service. And here different applications may use different security schemes. Some applications may rely on pre-shared symmetric key credentials, and other applications typically rely on public key infrastructure. So this has to be also accommodated by the security specifications. And then you have to use the credentials that are shared between the device talking together and the infrastructure and the gateways to provide an end-to-end secure connection. This may rely on typically protocols that go on top of IP, like TLS or DTLS. But one aspect is that generally it's not enough to just protect information on the link between two entities during transit. But in many applications, you also want to make sure that your information is secured from the creation of the information to the place where it is actually used. So you want to have an end-to-end security of the data between the sensor, for example, creating the information, and the processor, which may be either in another edge device or inside a cloud, that will decrypt the information to provide an action based on that information. And then it's also very important, since we were talking about privacy, to make sure that the applications, that the information is only accessible to people who need it and who are trusted to use information. So very complex aspects in some deployments is also to be able to manage this authorization in an easy manner. And that's why oneM2M has been working also quite intensively to provide different models that give a lot of flexibility to manage the authorization in different service configuration, depending whether you are dealing with applications which are more or less static and long-term, where you may use a standard access control list, or you are using applications that have a much more shorter information lifetime. Like, for example, if you want to be able to give control of your house equipment, your house access to your house, for example, when you go on vacations, you want to give access for 1 week to your neighbor. This means that you have to have more dynamic way to manage the access to this information. And oneM2M also integrates a facility to enable individuals to actually give rights to access their information and to protect the information they want. Even when you deal with multiple applications with a unified framework that can be used by all applications.
Thank you, François. So I will now make an introduction of GlobalPlatform. And GlobalPlatform, so really focus on the digital service deployment. And we are standardizing what we called a secure component, which is a security hardware firmware combination that really become the on-device trust anchor inside the device. GlobalPlatform, it's a standard organization that regroups 100 companies, and that has been created a few years ago. And as you see on the right, you have some very impressive success of the organization, because we consider that there is 22 billion of secure elements, one of the two technology that GlobalPlatform is developing in form of smart card, USB token, SIM cards, and embedded secure element right now that are more and more used in the IoT world. Also, we have a second technology that is called Trusted Execution Environment, TEE, that provide another level of security and features. And right now we are reaching 1 billion of computer able to support a TEE per quarter. So this is very massive mass market technology that is used by different market, and that provide security services with a specific security services level within the device. So what is the value for the IoT device manufacturer? Because this is one of the way to improve and to put more security in IoT. It's to help the IoT device manufacturer to put in the market a better product or more secure product. In fact, if the device manufacturer decided to integrate a standardized secure component, then first of all, you will protect the device authentication. So this is very important for platforms such as oneM2M, because you want to be sure that the authenticity of the object it's the real one. If you want to be managed by a big platform inside a home gateway or inside a smart city project. The second part, of course, is you are able to protect the assets of the device inside the whatever it's a set-top box, a gateway, a car, or a smartphone. Of course, you are able to protect because the secure component offer protection of all the assets. What is also very important, you are able to load optimize the protocols to be able to connect your device to platforms. And also what is very important, it's to be able to support application from third party. The IoT world is now seen by a lot of service providers as a way to deploy new services. So maybe 10 years ago, people want to deploy services in the USB token on your PC, then they move to the web browser. Everybody wants to be on the mobile, and there now people are looking for being on the car, being on your TV, being on your fridge. Because the GlobalPlatform is working with a lot of service providers, a lot of service providers already use the GlobalPlatform technology to deploy the services. So as an IoT device manufacturer, by integrating a secure component, you are able to open your platform, your device, to service provider that wants to be on the edge and wants to deploy services on the top of your device. So this is really a win-win situation where first you provide more security and you protect your brand and your device, and also because you are used, well, the GlobalPlatform is used by different service providers, and GlobalPlatform is integrated in such platform like oneM2M, you are able after to open your device and to provide access to new services offered by third party, which is very, very important because the IoT device manufacturer are not able to support all the service or to provide all the service, and the collaboration between the device manufacturer and the service provider are a key element of the GlobalPlatform strategy. So let me now go about the combination of oneM2M and GlobalPlatform in projects such as smart cities. So as you understand, GlobalPlatform provide the secure component technology, whatever it's the embedded secure element or the trusted execution environment that are allowed to protect in the device, in the edge, the digital services, and of course the device itself, when we are talking about the device authentication, device authenticity. So here, by adding a secure component on the IoT device, you are able to protect the endpoint. Therefore, oneM2M, which wants to manage all the objects and get the data and provide the data to service provider, are able to use this trust anchor through the unified API to be able to store management data, deploy new services. And also the combination of the two, when you are integrated a secure component, you need to be able to update it. And this is where the GlobalPlatform secure remote management helps you, because there will be some new services to deploy, there will be some update in terms of crypto, and this is what you are able to do with the secure remote management of GlobalPlatform. And of course, this end-to-end secure script are integrated already in the oneM2M service layer. So really, the combination of the two technology offer really this end-to-end view and a full standardized stack between GlobalPlatform and oneM2M, of course, for the great value of the service provider.
Okay, so now if we look again at the whole picture, you have here the infrastructure side on the left hand and the device side on the right hand. So how do we basically secure the whole chain from the infrastructure to the edge? Knowing that in between you will deal with a multitude of communication technology, especially on the local area network side, and even worse on the device side, IoT device can be just anything. It can be a car, it can be a smartphone, it can be a traffic light or whatever, and this means that you have different security technologies that will need to be used in this device. And here we rely on the experience gained by a GlobalPlatform in addressing multiple security applications already by providing let's say a range of technologies that are suitable to different security environment. Like what Gilles presented, says either secure elements that can be removable, it can be embedded secure element, or it can be also a trusted execution environment, which is running on a main purpose processor in the device. And so here you have basically to make the connection throughout the chain, you have a oneM2M service layer, which provides the capability to abstract both the heterogeneous communication technology and the diversity of the security technology used at the end device, while providing at the same time the capability to administrate the device altogether without having to care about their difference in terms of technology used and all the details. So the combination of oneM2M and GlobalPlatform offers big benefits, both well, to all stakeholders, and especially oneM2M again is providing this capability to abstract the underlying layers, the capability to provide information, well, semantics information to enable exchanging information and basically understanding different language between different family of device, and then, most of all, it provides an easy-to-use interface for the application developers to make innovation much easier at the application level. And then GlobalPlatform again provides the root of trust on the device side. That can be abstracted in a uniform manner by the oneM2M service layer, and it provides also this capability, thanks to security domains, to use a single root of trust to basically secure different services and different applications in confidentiality within the device and within the infrastructure. So that's also a very important advantage of GlobalPlatform. So now, looking also at the chain of stakeholders in a smart city, you have, of course, the device manufacturers. We need to provide a root of trust. This is addressed by GlobalPlatform. Then they need to facilitate connectivity with infrastructure. This is provided by oneM2M. Then, from the service provider point of view, you want to have the capability to administrate the service and manage the device in a uniform manner. And this is provided by the combination with oneM2M providing the abstraction layer and GlobalPlatform providing the security technology. And finally, for the application developer, they can use a very accessible application programming interface with oneM2M, and they do not have to be experts in security and communication technology, because all the complexity is basically integrated into the service layers.
So thank you, François, and I think it's time for questions.
Distinguished speakers, you have taken us through all our aspirations which we had from this technical panel discussion. There may be some questions coming up from various people who are attending this panel, but I have noted down a couple of questions, either asked by them or from myself. People have talked about new concepts of third-party, trusted third-party comes into picture. So could you tell us something about, people will be interested, how to benchmark this third-party, trusted third-party platform or third-party per se? How does one qualify, or a platform qualify? What are the benchmarks? What are the key parameters that people can believe that there is a third-party trusted environment?
So maybe I will start because we had different deployment in GlobalPlatform in other areas than IoT where third party were necessary. So in most of the cases, these third party are providing a technical effort. Many people think that there is a lot of money to do with that, but I think it's more technical effort. So I will give you a few examples, but typically when you are launching a PKI infrastructure, you need to have a CA. This is typically a third party, someone that is generating the certificate, applying a few rules to be able to generate the certificate. Everybody inside the ecosystem is using the same CA, and they are using the technical services of this CA. So if you take another example I will say manage OT platform and to be able to reach devices and to be able to load information, auto-update information. That's happened as an example in the wearable market. There is more and more smartwatches, and then you want to be able to load your new banking application to be able to pay with your smartwatches. Here you need to have an infrastructure that are connected with the banks. connected with a network to be able to provide that. Both cases, it's a technical effort. So first of all, like any technical effort, you have some benchmark in terms of pure reliability of the systems, because when you want to get your certificate, you want to get the certificate. Once you want to deploy your application, you want to get your application downloaded, right? So first of all, there is a lot of usual technical indicator to ensure that the service is provided on time. The second party, it's of course the security. So this is where you need to have some certification, you need to have some guidelines that are applied, and most of the time you need to have an audit by a third party. So this is mainly, I think, a very simple view of this third party. And it can be a city, as an example, in terms of smart city, you can provide this type of platforms that will be able after to relay the data to service provider. It can be big actors. Most of the Silicon Valley actors are investing a lot on such a platform on the IoT world. Or it can be a joint venture between different business partners to be able to perform this technical work.
There's one more question about privacy policy management you have brought out in one of the slides. Privacy policy management may be seen differently by different stakeholders and different users and all that. So how do we make a generic or make a common analogy about how the privacy policy management would be done and who will do it?
Okay, yeah, so on this topic, generally, you still have a common legal framework to handle privacy. And for example, at least in the European Union, you need to get express consent from the user whose data is related to be able to share this information with other people. It means basically that the authorization to access information has to come somehow from the user. So the issue now, if you think about, if you look already at what you have to deal with on the internet to handle privacy, with so many applications, you have to read these legal stuff, and you basically cannot use the application until you clicked on OK, I have read this information. And there is so much information to read that people do not take care to read everything. So it doesn't work. And especially in IoT, it will be even worse because you will have more applications, more information shared. And if we keep using the same paradigm that people have to read a specific text application which basically captures all the policy and decides which information is being shared or not, it becomes a nightmare for people to manage. So that's why in oneM2M we see privacy policy management, which basically uses a unified language across applications to decide which information from the application needs to be made accessible by the user. And then, you have that information which is application related, then you have another application that may be legal related, that may give you the right to access some specific information or not. And then you have also the user who is able to apply his own filter. And then it means that you have for each application a set of filters that apply. Some filters that relate to the, for example, a national legal framework. Some filters that applies to the privacy preference of the individual users, and another filters that may relate to industry-specific regulations and so on. And these filters filter will tell you, okay, this information I can access and I can share, but this one I can't. And in the end, each application is able to say, okay, the application is accessible with that setting, or if the user wants to use this application, then he has to give individually a specific additional setting. So that's basically a high-level explanation.
There are two more questions which have come up, and one relates to about abstraction. You have mentioned for IoT application developers, you are talking about oneM2M abstraction of GlobalPlatform. Is the abstraction term valid for service providers and device providers also, or it is limited to developers?
Well, in fact, yes, the abstraction is really aimed at developers in the end. At the service provider level, I would say that it depends at what level you look, because in fact, oneM2M is based on a service layer, which is middleware that you have to deploy across the infrastructure. From the service provider point of view, and this middleware is providing the abstraction. So it means still that the service provider has to have the expertise and the knowledge of the technology is using to deploy the proper abstraction component in this infrastructure.
Okay, so François and Jill, again, we are having questions coming through the questions tab. I don't know if you can see them.
Yes, yes.
So before you go ahead and answer them, I also have two questions which are linked to your answers. So you mentioned about answering Mr. Madan about privacy. Now the General Data Privacy Regulation is going to be implemented in 2018 in EU. So do you see the implication of GDPR on your work?
Well, let's say that GDPR is not impacting our work currently, because we have been integrating this new regulation from the beginning of oneM2M, since I was already involved 5 years ago in groups that were discussing the privacy regulation at the European level. So we try to basically make sure that oneM2M specifications would be able to cope with this future legislation.
Okay, so the last one from me is that in the smart city applications, especially in India, some of the people I know, they talk about blockchain, using blockchains for integrity of the data. So do you see any overlap or any interaction of oneM2M with blockchain technologies? Have you seen any use cases?
So in fact, yes. On my side, I am also involved in some research project, for example, in the energy domain, where we were considering the use of blockchain, indeed, to preserve the trust of the information along the chain between different stakeholders that are, for example, exchanging energy across borders. So yes, it's definitely a technology that is emerging in terms of security, and it has some benefits in some specific environment. And in fact, there are many IoT applications that can potentially benefit from blockchain. Now, we started to discuss in oneM2M whether these whether these requires some specification at the level of the service layer provided by oneM2M, or whether these should be basically handled at the application level. So currently it's not yet completely closed, this debate. I think that oneM2M we'll probably continue working on this through the next release, release 4, which will be starting next year. But yes, there are definitely many applications that use blockchain today, and in principle, it's not incompatible with using the oneM2M framework. Only the thing is that the blockchain currently is still managed individually by the application. So the question for oneM2M is whether, in some situation, it may be valuable to handle the blockchain also from the service layer side.
Okay, so now we have 3 questions waiting for you. So it will be nice of you if you can read out the question and the person who has asked it and answer the question, please.
Yes, so the first question, what do you believe is the best way to classify and categorize the IoT component in terms of standardization approach, especially considering the variety of components in this area? So I will make a very simple proposal here. I suppose that there will be billions of other proposals, but I see there is some components that are at the end of the chain. I was using endpoint, and also François was using endpoint. So there are components that are really nobody's connecting to this component to get data, but those components are connected to other components, right? So this is the endpoint. They are the ones that are taking the data, storing the data, potentially treating the data, and actuating on the environment. I suppose that in the middle there will be a lot of components that are in and out. So most of the endpoints are connected to these elements, and they are the ones to connect to the big network and the platform. So most of the time we are using the generic name of gateway. And of course you have the other endpoint, which is a platform, and the service provider platforms. So this is maybe one way to make the differentiation between the two. After, in terms of categorization, it's, are you only getting information? Are you getting information and storing information, or are you getting information, storing information, treating information? That will be another categorization for each of these 3 different levels, because more data you are managing, treating, and more security you need to have on your own to be able to protect the data that potentially few seconds or few hours you are keeping this data inside, potentially a lot of time if you have a database. But this is very important in terms of categorization. I don't think there is too much issue in terms of connectivity, in terms of protocol. Most of the world is going to IP, so of course there is potentially IPv4, v6 that are not it here. Potentially there is some protocol in terms of treatment, as mentioned by François, but I don't think the protocol itself, it's a very big categorization related to the security and the privacy. So we have another question about the challenges in Indian scenario in the implementation of IoT and how to mitigate those challenges. So maybe I will also try to answer to this question. In fact, when you have one object or 2 objects in a private network, you are taking very low risks, and you can go to solutions that are not controlled in terms of security and privacy. But I don't think this is typically the scale of deployment in India. So here you are talking about a lot of objects that are connected together with a heterogeneity of network and possibility to have multiple actors and extra. And this is where you need to have a security, and you need to have a baseline in terms of security. Something which is very important is that it's not possible to secure an object that has not been really think for security. You can provide patches, you can do little stuff, But if you have a strong issue in terms of security, and the object has not been created with root of trust, with secure boot, extra, it's not possible to provide that. So the risk you are taking, if you are not putting security at the core of the IoT objects or at the core of the gateway, if you have a big issue, then this will impact for years your implementation, because it's very difficult to go in each and part of the city embedded objects and to fix that or to change that. So I think because of the variety and because of the potential big deployment that you will face, you need to think about putting the security at the core of the IoT object, at the core of the IoT platforms, and then to be able to have platforms that are able to manage that, to be able to typically cancel some object, delete some object, unactivate some object, or update the object if you have some issues. I think this is very important. And this, of course, has a costs, because people will say, okay, I need to add 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, but multiply by the number of objects. So yes, it's an impact on the project when you are making the calculation, but also you are not changing the object every 6 months. So you need to think about a more mid-term or long-term vision when you are doing this investment. And having a platform that is very flexible, such as what is provided by oneM2M, allows you to face all the challenges that you will have, of course, of the first days to set up and to make it happen, but also in a mid-term when you will have the first issue and the first potential new threats. The last question we have, how does it retrofit with existing legacy system which are already mature? There may be some reluctance adapt together in technology. So François made a comment about the vision of oneM2M to say that we need to connect to all systems. And I think this is very important. It's possible with the platform to take the data and to integrate all mature platform into oneM2M, and to start with, to make the new based on all the security. So I think here the framework to integrate the old system into the new system. It's more difficult when you are issuing objects that are not secure at the core, because here the only thing that you are able to use it anymore is big threat. So I think, of course, security is always risk management, and so you need to mitigate. I think switching and integrating the mature platform into oneM2M type of mature platform, this is very important. To switch as soon as possible to secure component or objects that are very providing security at the core. And of course, the reluctance of the new technology, this is always the case. Most of the people wait the big issue to switch. I think as an expert, we need to mitigate and to say that in some cases, yes, the risk is low, so we can use, we'll say, non-secure technology. But as soon we consider that the risk may be very important, or the fixing of the potential issue is very expensive, we need to switch to new technology.
Okay, so there is one last question. We are running over time. So do you want to answer this, Jill and François? It's the extension of the first question.
Or we can take later questions also by email if people want to ask more questions.
Okay, so that's fine. Then in that case, maybe Mr. Jagannathan Raghunathan was asking this question, can reach out over email, and we can provide your email to him. So that's fine. So at this point, I would really like to thank both of you, Mr. Jill and Mr. François, for taking out your time, and Mr. Madan. And I hope that this webinar would start a series of new thought process and questions, and maybe we would need your time in future also to continue this discussion. So this is not the end of it, but this is just the start of the discussion. So thank you once again and have a good day. And also to all the audience which have taken time to listen to this conversation. In case if you missed anything, I have given in the chat our website, and in the website you can also find my email. So there are also other webinars that you can find, and please stay in touch, and thank you once again everyone. So now I'm ending the webinar.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.